All right, very good. Welcome. This is the September 13th, 22 Board of Fire Commissioners meeting for South Bay Fire District 8, and I'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is whether we have any public comments.
No public.
Hearing none, we'll move to the chief's report, August monthly report.
All right. Pardon me. Hoping you all received a copy of the monthly report. I guess I'd ask if there are any questions at all or clarifications. None.
I guess not. Gloria, did you have any questions on the chief's report?
No, I don't.
Okay,
It
all
looks good.
right.
Then I will ask Chief LeMay to give us a brief report on our staffing and recruitment updates.
Well, summertime's always a little bit tricky, so we've had a harder timing. I'm sure you see on the chief's report. 83 has been a kind of rough time. We had a couple more COVID quarantine. That hurt us a bit. And then you compound that on with normal summertime, people vacations. It kind of, that part's the normal part, but staffing's been a little bit rougher. And then, of course, we have a member out right now. And, so overall, kind of rough on our current staffing. As for volunteer and career applicants, kind of rough news on some of the sides, but we don't actually have any volunteer applications in now. We've been really doubling down on our applicants. I do expect to get 3 in, meaning I've had people say, hey, I'm just turning it in, or I got to do my thing this weekend, or get it going. So I am still expecting 3 to get in here. So we process them in October. October's generally when we do the interview and welcome aboard and get them into the orientation and all that. So I'm optimistically hopeful that we'll get at least 3 volunteers in. But still discouraging when you don't see all the results of your efforts.
Yeah, I have a new neighbor who has asked some questions and expressed some interest to me. I will
Send them my way. I'd be happy to give them a private tour.
Yes, we'll escort her down here.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. So still, we're still trying to add in more of our strategy, and I'm sure we'll get into our overall communications plan, but recruitment, I'm wanting to kind of tie that in. It's all one big picture, get our recruitment in there with it. So still doubling down on our efforts for our volunteer recruitment. But it is getting more and more competitive. On the career side, actually, we do, it's been challenging right now. We've been kind of saying it's a buyer's market. A lot of people retiring, a lot of departments growing, a lot of growth, and a lot of vacancies. So right now it's more than anything I've ever seen in my life of opportunities to become a firefighter. For example, we had our career hire process go through. We've had people go through, apply, and it looks great. We had 9 people we thought we'd invite for interview to come in, and 6 of them informed me they've already been given offers to another career department. No, thank you for coming in for an interview. So that was a bit surprise for me. I knew that there was some of that, but that was more than I really expected. 2/3 of our people to say no thank you to an interview. So anyway, the good news is we did get 3 interviews today. Actually, we had our initial interview panel. The 3 did get the initial interview, and our panel liked all 3, and all 3 will be moving forward to the chief's interview, which will be Thursday. So Chief Camp and I have an AM plotted out on Thursday where we'll be interviewing 3 and then be able to move forward on an offer after that. And then comes the background checks, a little bit of delay on that. That part usually is a few months worth of background on there. So we are going to be looking at working with our union, of course, but potentially what should we adjust, change, tweak for our entry level firefighter processes in the future? Might we need to adjust that? It's worth a look.
If we've lost 30 candidates, yeah, we need to do that. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So some of it's outside of our factor. I mean, if everybody's picking up and going and hiring and taking, then hopefully we're competitive enough to be one of those 2/3 where people want to come and enjoying, but
And maybe you need to move faster.
we're faster living.
The process. The process, we're losing 2/3 of your candidates.
So waiting so long.
Well,
Process
yeah.
has to get-
Yeah, I mean, you could say that in two ways. That would be one, but then also we opened up our process to try to get more of our internal members. There's a few of our members we intentionally delayed out. One member was just a little bit shy of being able to be qualified to come in. We drug it out so we could have more of our volunteers eligible. So yeah, give and take, yes, I'll concede to some of that. So anyway, we're hopeful that we'll have a good new firefighter here soon enough and then we'll be going and we'll have new Proby and we'll be starting up there. And yeah. If there's any specific questions, I'm happy to get into it, but that's kind of the big update I wanted to share.
Thank you. Next item is our 2023 budget policy direction.
Correct.
Recommendation.
This is as part of our annual process for developing the budget and goal setting and so forth. This is the kind of the starting point. What it does is encapsulates what we've done last year to some degree, but more importantly, goals we want to set for 2023, and then what some of the resulting administrative and operational things that will be necessary to do all of that. So did promote or propose 3 new goals. And that would be on page 2, but basically the first one would be to adopt and implement the 3-year staffing plan, and remembering that 2022 we're on pilot staffing model that basically ends at the end of this year. We're also in the middle of the collective bargaining agreement, both of which will pretty much point to what inevitable design that we want to have for staffing. The goal here would be to adopt and implement that. Goal number 2 is looking at what the costs would be incurred for that staffing plan, as well as the other costs to support delivering that service and so forth, and looking at our finances and promoting and hopefully receiving voter approval for whatever financial aid that we may need is yet undetermined. As we're moving through our collective bargaining agreement and estimating operating costs, we'll have a good idea of what the proposed budget will be, certainly by the end of this year, and then matching that with our revenue streams. So, and then the third goal is taking is basically something that we've been needing to do for quite some time, and that is to really update and clarify each of our members' position descriptions, so that it's really clear what their role in the organization is, what's necessary for them to do what they need to do, and things that we can do as an organization to support them. So each of the 4 objectives assigned to that, one is to basically establish what each person's position description is. The second is to review and establish what the minimum requirements for that position are for them to be successful in their job. The third objective is to update our training plan to make sure that we're providing the necessary training and resources necessary for each person to be successful in their position description and the qualifications necessary for that position. And then the fourth objective is to take all of that and incorporate it into our annual PDP process, so that each individual is clearly aware how they're progressing in their responsibilities for their position, identify things that they think they need to help do their job better, and that sort of thing. So it's sort of a full circle thing. And then I suspect what we'll do is like feedback loop is probably eventually re-examine the job descriptions, and it will be a continuing progress of work, so. So that's the third goal, recommended or proposed goal. Most everything else, pretty much the same as you've seen in years past. I've received some comments from folks, and I'm in the process of updating the draft based on those. There's nothing we need to do tonight, other than I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. But I will be asking for board approval at our meeting in October.
So your goal number 3, you already have these things in place, you're just updating.
Pardon?
Those things are already in place, you're just updating and reviewing them and.
We do have job descriptions. We have, for each of those, we have some minimum quals. And we do have a training plan, but yes, basically updating. Yeah, questions?
Okay, any other questions, comments? If not, we'll move on. Right, Mr. McBride, we're talking about facilities and apparatus.
Hello. All right, so I believe Chief sent out an email. A couple of things. First, let me get my little notes. The first thing, we're going through the budgeting process for 2023. We've started that. There's not too many big projects that we're looking at adding. One thing that we are looking into, though, is potentially adding, that's not on the CR&R, is potentially adding an additional air fill station at Station 83. We had one out. We have one at Station 81, and it was out for a substantial amount of time. And now that we're staffing more stations regularly and getting busier, it seems to make more sense to have the abilities at multiple stations and also some redundancy. Otherwise, we have to rely on other agencies a lot more. Next, we did get 3 quotes. We have a small leak in the bathroom at Station 82 in the roof and through one of the vents. With that, we did some inspecting and nobody can remember when the last time the roof was replaced. So it's been at least 20 plus years, probably more than 30. So we did get some quotes on that, and we would like approval for having the roof replaced before winter comes. Those quotes ranged anywhere from 20 to 27,000. 2 of them were right around the 22,000 mark. That included replacing the roof and then also replacing the gutters, since those will most likely be damaged when they replace the roof. And that would come out of CR&R.
Question, Brent, is it a composition roof or a tar down?
It's a comp roof.
Comp.
Yeah. And the quickest one, like I said, there were 2 right around the $22,000 mark plus tax, and they one of them said that they could get us on the schedule in about 3 weeks. So we would like to get that done before the rainy season comes. We deal with other potential issues. Doug, I don't know if maybe you have any insight. Chief and I couldn't remember the last time when that roof was replaced. I don't know if you-
Addition or that remodel was done, I would assume.
Yeah, been about 96.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, that's the last time I remember anything happening on the roof there.
Yeah, it's held up pretty well because there's no trees around there or anything, so we don't get a lot of damage to it or leaves or pine needles on it. But obviously, if that was potentially the last time, that's about 30 years ago.
Yep.
So that's about the general life of one of those types of roofs. So.
So question, do you need specific board approval?
Yes, we do, since it would be out of since it wasn't a budgeted item and it would be coming out of the CR&R fund. And talking with Chief, it sounds like there's a substantial amount that could happen.
So I have a question.
Please.
At one time, it was mentioned that you might not keep that building. And if you're not gonna keep it, would you just patch it and throw it out there?
Yeah, well, I don't know how much. The only time that we'll probably get rid of it, or we won't need it, I guess, better to say, is when we build the new East Side Fire Station.
Okay.
We don't have a time frame for that right now. Plus, TCOM will be housing a lot of their electronic equipment and help paying for the operations and maintenance of that building. So it's worth keeping solid.
It would.
I think we've got our money's worth out of the current roof.
Other comments or questions at this point? Do we need to know the specific vendor and the specific amount, or are you just looking, or?
I can give that to you. The specific vendor is Preferred Roof Services. I believe they're out of Tacoma, and the amount before, let's see, with gutters, before tax was 19,779 plus tax.
Okay,
And why are they preferred?
That's just the name of the company.
Oh,
But then why do you select them? They're the one you're proposing.
Oh, they were, like I said, there were two that came in pretty much comparably priced, and these ones could get to us sooner. The other ones were a couple months out, so we wanted to get it done before the rainy season. The other company they were around 26 or 27,000 plus tax. So
And do you have references on them? Or,
yeah. Both are large commercial companies that deal with commercial roofs and residential roofs.
okay, do we need a motion then to accept that proposal?
I make a motion that we accept the proposal for the roof repair at Station 82.
Okay, Dan, the seconds. All right, so all in favor of, or before we go there, any other discussion or questions?
when did we discover the leak?
Let's see, I believe it was in May or June.
And we're just finding out about it now?
No, that's when we discovered it, and we looked at it and we couldn't, we tried to recreate it a little bit. What had happened was the cleaning crew was out there and they noticed that it was leaking, and we went out and there was evidence of that coming from a bathroom vent. And it was during a substantial rain, and it looked like it had been leaking for a while from the stain. So it's just how long it's taken to get quotes and get people lined up.
But the board's just finding out about it now.
Yes.
Okay.
When did you get the bids, Brent?
The bids, let's see, beginning of August.
So we have a motion before the board to accept the proposal from Preferred at around the $19,700 plus tax. Includes the roof and gutter. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. Continue with your report then.
Okay. Next, Commissioner Kilpatrick asked about the upgrades to the septic system at Station 81 and Station 83. A couple months ago, we went out for qualifications and Malcolm, and we brought on or continued on with Hatton Godat Pantier. as our engineer, and we're moving forward with them. Sorry. And we met with them about a month ago, and Chief and I discussed the best options moving forward with everything going on with
Brent.
construction and whatnot. And it was determined that because we're not in the need for the septic system right now, I mean, obviously we're in a need, but we need the septic system, but we don't need to do the updates right away, that we can package that with the Station 83 fire suppression system next year, which will be a pretty substantial project. And hopefully that will give us a better bid price as well. And as well as hopefully the market will stabilize in the construction industry a little better.
And so your target then would be anytime after January of next year?
Correct. We're working with the engineer to bid or begin work on the bid. We'll have to design new towers. I can't remember. So that'll require some geological studies, I believe, and then designing the system and what all that will entail. I believe part of it will be potentially changing the fire pump as well as the generator for the emergency generator for Station 83 and replacing the line that continues to have breaks throughout every other year. Which we have one right now that we're working on getting repaired.
Is that the water leak that I see in the background?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why it didn't, the pavement back there didn't get
That's what I was assuming.
maintained.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had essentially done most of the engineering work on the fire protection over there, and then other things came up, COVID and everything. So we've asked Steve Hatton to look at the current specs and make sure that they're still up to date for what we need for the fire protection, emergency power and so forth over there. And then, like Brent said, looking at packaging them for a larger project. And as you remember, we bid out the 81 project and the cost was just horrendous. So we're hoping that the construction market is a little more acceptable and giving them as long a time frame as we possibly can to probably help the bidding and pricing and everything as well. So that's the work that we need to do between now and the end of the year, is work with Steve, update the specifications, develop the package. So that's what Brent's working with Hatton on.
Okay, thanks for that update.
Lastly, as part of the CR&R review and looking at 2023, we have one of the replacement items is another engine. Originally, Justin and I were exploring possibly putting that off for a year or two, just since we had just received an engine. But as we talked with our Pierce rep, they said if you were to order an engine right now, it'll probably be about 30 to 36 months until it's in service. So once we found that out, we decided that maybe we should continue moving ahead with the engine order for next year. We started working on that about a month ago. And with that, they've given us updated pricing, but at the end of October, there will be a 6.5% increase. So talking with Chief, we would like to work at getting that approved at the next board meeting so that we could take advantage of purchasing before there's a 6.5% increase. After that, it sounds like the next increase might occur in February or March, but there's no guarantee.
That vehicle is scheduled to be replaced next year. It's on the
Correct.
20th schedule now.
Correct. And I'm looking at, let me pull up. the-
Tender, it's an engine, right?
No, it's a pumper.
Because that's what I wrote, was tender. I wasn't sure if I got it wrong.
I was gonna say, you just get rid of it and buy the final one.
Yeah.
So basically what we're doing, everybody's really happy with the current newest engine. We've asked for a lot of input. There are some changes that we'll make because when we built the last engine, we purposely designed it so that it could one day fit in Station 82 if it was ever needed to go out there, since not a lot of our vehicles can fit there. This engine, since it doesn't need to be as small, we will make some changes like having an extended bumper for an additional hose line, similar to what current station or engine 83 has. We'll also add a little bit larger compartment space for the front compartments. That would be like the engineer's compartment, etc. And let's see, what else were we looking at?
But most of the changes are minimal in nature, right?
Yeah, so with those pricing, depending on what options we decide to do for, because they do offer different discounts, and I can send that information out once I get it. But if you decide to take advantage of all the discounts and pay upfront 100%, then I believe we save, let's see, about $50,000. The other thing that's new that we're looking into as well is idle reduction technology. Olympia and Lacey have both added that to their newest vehicles. So basically what that would do is that if a engine's on scene for more than a few minutes, it switches over to a battery mode. So that's less wear and tear on the exhaust systems, the emission systems, and using fuel. So we asked them to quote us with that included. Right now, I'm guessing once we get the information back, it'll be, assuming we take advantage of all of the discounts, we're looking probably at, with sales tax, probably at like 900,000 to 920,000, which is why we want to take advantage of purchasing before that next increase occurs.
What did we pay for the last one? It was 900 and something, wasn't it? Or was it just on?
The last one was about, I want to say 780,000, and that was purchased, let's see, when we built that, I believe it was, when we ordered it, it was 2020, beginning of 2020. So with all the vehicle issues right now, there's beginning to be, has continued to be quite a few increases in everything, as we know with COVID, but I don't see these going down after talking with them.
Just for information, our next scheduled vehicle replacements would be in 2026 for a medical unit and actually another one for a SUV as well.
So that would be approximately the time that this vehicle would be put in service.
Correct. Unfortunately. And as with the engine, we're still, having an issue with our brush truck. Not an issue. I mean, they let us know ahead of time, but thanks to COVID, everything's been pushed back. So they're still awaiting a chassis.
Supply chain.
It's grim.
So at this point, that's, I don't need approval or for anything. It's just information. We will be asking hopefully for approval at the next board meeting though. So if you have any questions or anything, feel free to email me. I will also, once we get an updated quote, I'll send that out because it has all the information on the different options for purchasing if we choose to exercise any of them for discounts.
Yeah, we did prepay our last engine. We saved a substantial amount.
Correct.
It's nice when you have cash.
Question, where are we at with the CRNR budget as far as planning?
He's working on it now.
I would like to see an updated version of that before you're asked to vote on.
October's when we're supposed to roll that out, so.
So if we get it before the meetings.
Yeah. That's the idea.
that is all I have for facilities and equipment, unless anybody has any questions.
Any other questions? Okay, see none. Thank you for the
Can I-
update.
can I just- So that the process now will be Brent and his team are looking at the CRR and our schedule and budget, and then he'll share that with me, and then once we've gone through it, and then we'll present it to you prior to the October meeting for you to look at as well. It's part of our normal budget cycle, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brent.
You bet. All right. Have a good evening.
I think Secretary report.
So we have the minutes from August 9th that went out. And I don't believe anybody had any changes on those.
Then we approve the minutes from August meeting.
Okay. Moved for approval
I'll start.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, it's unanimous.
And are there any questions on any of the warrants?
I just have one little question. A water law, is that the same law office? It's not the same as sheriff.
Which
That's
one?
his, Owata?
Oh, that's the gentleman that we hired for the labor and industries incident.
I'm gonna brief you on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
The executive session.
but we did get a new attorney because he specializes in that type of a case. Whereas our regular attorney does not, and they actually recommended him.
Yeah. So I'll just put on it.
Were there any other questions about the warrants? I didn't have any. Okay, I see Gloria shaking her head. She's indicating no. With that, we're looking for approval motion. The move to approve
I'll second it.
and seconded.
Thank you.
All in favor of approval of the warrants as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
And then I was just going to give you a reminder that those folks that wanted to be attending the Washington Fire Commissioners Conference in Spokane have been registered, and you do have rooms for that, which is great because I guess the rooms have run out. They always do. Every event they run out. And anyway, so you're scheduled for that. And
What dates are we?
the 26th is the night that people start going, and that's when the SNOR seminar is. And then Saturday, the 29th is when it ends. And I think there's a breakfast that morning, so.
I think on the morning of 26th, the WCA board meeting is on 9 o'clock. That in the same place, not probably.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Pam, did you want to go to the SNOR thing?
I do, but I'm gonna be in Arizona.
Oh, right. Okay, never mind. I'm thinking of Gloria. Gloria, did you
Yeah.
want SNOR?
Yes, I figured that would be,
Okay,
you got us a room for that night, didn't you?
yes.
And it was-
Okay. Okay, yeah, and so is
That's right.
checkout on Sunday?
Saturday.
Saturday,
Say that again?
Saturday. The
Okay,
20 Yeah.
okay.
And I believe, well, I gave them all your each individual email address, so I would assume that you would be getting some communication from them. I don't know if you have, but
Well, what I got from them was a thing that if we were gonna cancel our rooms, to let them know ahead of time, because people are wanting to get into those rooms.
yeah.
You know, they don't want somebody waiting till the last minute, and then they have to pay for those rooms, and so they don't want to be held responsible for rooms that don't get used. Kind of thing. So that was, so that's why I was checking with you on the room reservations.
Yeah, the room only goes through Friday and then you leave on Saturday.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And that's all I have for an announcement.
Okay. We are at commissioner comments.
Always that.
I have a question. I heard that West Thurston's levy didn't pass, and I know we talked about finding out what their tricks were in getting theirs passed. I heard it wasn't a majority.
Yeah, well, that was the point, was that it did not.
And it didn't pass. Yeah,
Oh, I was thinking you said it passed, and then you wanted to know what they
They
did.
had a
Okay,
majority.
I'm sorry. That was my brain.
Yeah, because it's a new revenue tax, it requires validation and a supermajority, so. I think they had the validation, but they didn't have the 60% that was necessary.
Okay. I just misunderstood. Thank you.
And I talked with some folks over there. Frankly, they were pretty surprised. They were expecting it to pass. And my impression is that they really don't know why it didn't pass.
I got a few takeaways from Rob Smith. I haven't had a chance to get you with one, but oh. I think his biggest advice was prepare earlier. He's had to summarize it, they didn't get as much out ahead of time on the planning. More deliberate on how they're communicating out with the community. A few little nuggets of advice. Don't have all those notes. I have separate notes in my office. That was the long story short.
They were on the King 5 News last night with a report. They had a pretty good sized brush fire down there, and King's down there, and gave them an opportunity to put a pitch in, which they did. And they're gonna rerun it in the general election in November.
That whole situation got me thinking about our levy strategy.
Yeah.
And what we can learn from it. Brian and I had some conversation about this. 2 weeks ago, I guess. And their situation is, their regular levy, they were at $1.50, and that's because of the way the property values work. It's down to, I don't know, but it's
It's like 97 cents. I
Really low.
Really low. Yeah.
and then, so they're getting next to nothing out of the regular levy, which is passed with a majority vote. And then they're trying to get a super majority vote, it's excess levy, and that fails. And then they're left with nothing.
Nothing.
And I really think we as a group need to think about our strategy. And why is that there's trade-offs. There's good and bad about both approaches. And there has to be at some point a mix of both. And how's the timing of that? Different times. And before we decide what we're going to do, we really make sure we as a group understand all the pluses and minuses of each of these options and think it through what's right for our community. And our situation. And add to that, we've got inflation, stock market, politics, or climate, all these other things that are screaming at people. It's a tough time.
Yeah.
And it leads me to think that if we could survive on $1.50, because we're going to have to, our $1.50 levy is up next year also. And it's actually down.
Well, the 6% waiver.
Is it the
Yeah.
end of this year?
So next year, we have a choice. We can do one or the other, or we can do both. And the nice thing about the $1.50 levy is it only requires a majority vote. So the question is, and you want to know this since we get through collective bargaining and how many more fire engines we're going to buy, all this kind of stuff. How much money do we need? And then can you live on $1.50 for a year, then go back to voters for an excess? Or do you do excess first, and then go back to the $1.50? Or do you ask for both of them at the same time? We're gonna have choices to make. So I think once you've got all the budget numbers, you need to sit down in a workshop and talk that through.
Just for your information, we did just recently get the new assessed valuation numbers our total AV grew by almost 20%, 20%. We're, what, over 4 billion assessed value now. Our levy rate will go down to $1.20. That's from $1.34 this year and $1.50 previous year. We're leaving $940,000 on the table that we can't collect. That we would get back if we simply raise our levy rate. And that's with a 6% cap. If we'd had a 1% cap, it would be worse.
Yeah.
So it was pretty dramatic. When Milton and I talked about it before, I didn't think there was going to be that big a change. I was surprised to see the growth. I don't know, I doubt if it's sustainable, but
No, it's not, because somebody can sell a house.
we're almost back to where we were prior to 2008. Because we took a hell of a hit in 2008 with the market
Recession.
going south. Yeah, then, and we're almost back to where we were in 2008. So, but absolutely, those are the things we need to look at. Interesting.
And climbing on what Brandon's saying, I really do think we need to start communicating to our constituents that we are going to have to do something next year. And they should expect some kind of a levy proposal, and the stakes are going to be high. Because we're going to have to pass it in order to maintain service station. And you're looking for, they start getting that message, starting to protest.
As you noted, our goal too really is that for next year is working that issue. We are putting together our third quarter newsletter, and I've been working with Milt on a chief's message that points directly to that, letting them know that it's a perfect storm with staffing and economy and everything, but that letting them know in no uncertain way that we're going to be having to do some financial ask for the voters at the end of next year, and telling them a year in advance, hopefully. So.
Yeah, that's another thing. We looked at the timing of August versus November, and probably the calculations we did include 40% of the 60% of the previous.
Yeah, to validate and get a super majority. It's. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and I worked a spreadsheet model where you can put in the number of votes and see how many it takes to pass. And you really get penalized if you have if you run in August and you have a low electorate. It's the 60% grows.
Well, and that it should explain why we didn't follow a presidential general, because you'll never validate.
Yeah, it would be impossible.
Yeah. So 23, as we planned, would be a good year for us to do it. It's the year prior to the presidential general. We could, depending on how our planning goes, we could run it in the preliminary, but like Milt says, there's a penalty if we wanted an excess levy for that date. Probably easier in a general election. Simple majority to reset the levy rate is simple majority, so it's much easier to obtain.
And the nice thing is you run and lose in the August, well, then you have time to do a do-over.
And West,
Lots of choices.
and West Thurston's more hopeful again for November.
I hope for them too.
It's sent reverberations throughout the county. Everybody's paying attention to it.
Oh, yeah, I would think they would.
I know personally, I talking with Stan Moon in District 6, they're really concerned about it because they're in the same basket we are.
So which one is six?
East Olympia.
East-
So,
Okay, any other comments or thoughts to share? Okay. So we are at the point where we are going to recess.
We're gonna follow up.
We gotta do follow-up and then.
Oh, I'm sorry, review and follow this first. I already checked it out.
Yeah, the only thing is Brent will be getting some information on the proposal for the replacement pumper prior to the next budget meeting. We've asked that y'all look at the budget policy recommendations, and we'll be asking for approval at the October meeting as well. And then we'll also be, the next step of our budget cycle, we'll be looking at preliminary numbers, hopefully, as well as preliminary CNR. That's it.
Right, so now we are going to pause for executive session. Where we're going to be talking about the performance review. And it's
How much
anticipated,
time did you all think you needed for that? I wasn't sure how much to put on there.
Looks like it's 39 minutes.
I think we're at 37.
What do you normally want for that? For the quarterly review?
I would suggest we allow 20 minutes and then if we need more time.
Okay.
All right, so
So
let's
let
say
me
we're
know.
going to recess that for 20 minutes. And then we'll be back and we'll take no action during the executive session.